Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Genially. I am Carla, and today I'm thrilled to have an expert who has spent years designing and leading learning experiences that stick. As an edtech enthusiast and AI geek, she loves finding ways to make learning more fun and impactful. So I want everyone to welcome Michele Klein.
Hi,
Hi,
Carla.
Michele.
I'm doing great. How are
That's
you?
great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And we're excited to having you here today. We'll be discussing some of the best practices for the modern instructor, including topics such as remote best practices, effective communication, and innovative training solutions. So let's get right into it.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, to start, Michele, let's maybe could you start by sharing a bit about your background and walk us through your career journey. I know you started as an educator and administrator, and now you're an instructional designer.
Yeah, sure. So I have been in education for well over a decade. 9 of those years, I was at a virtual charter school in the state of South Carolina. I was working remote long before, remote work really became a thing during COVID. And during that time, yes, I was an educator. I was a professional learning specialist. And then I led assessment and accountability initiatives for the largest school in South Carolina. I did some consulting work for a South Carolina charter school district. So I trained mentors and evaluators on effective learning leadership, which was a lot of fun. And now I am a business owner. I work with clients to create content. I lead learning and development and help individuals and teams integrate AI and technology into their workflows. And right now I had an exciting opportunity to partner with Elena AI. Mastery Mate is the first of its kind PBL, project-based learning platform. And it's been really exciting to work with them. So that's a little bit about me. And I live here in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And, I love it here.
That's awesome, and that's a very unique career journey. Do you have maybe for if any of our listeners maybe are considering a similar career change into like being a business owner and having their own business, what advice would you give them?
Sure. I really have four main areas that I would focus on. And number one would be to just play to your strengths, right? Leverage what you already know, what you're already good at. So many people have, everyone's unique. We all have our unique skills, abilities, talents. So I would really leverage those to go into the career that you not only want, but that you deserve. Number two would be is to just do what you love, right? I really work from a place of passion and purpose, and I really want to believe in my work. So I would really encourage people to, do what they love and what they're good at. Number three would be to just be visible and network. I think it's so important to, be active on social media, post, build relationships, meet new people, network, because you never know, where it's going to leave you or what great people you're going to meet. And, my mindset has shifted a lot over the years. And I really just believe it's so important. I've met so many amazing people. And then the fourth one would be value alignment. So I really think that you are also choosing who you partner with, who you're working for, what organization you're supporting, right? And are your values in alignment with that organization and their mission and their vision? So I would really look to those things and just be your authentic self and, just get out there, even if you feel scared or not ready, like you can do it.
I love those. I think those four elements go well with any decision, important decision in your life, right? Anytime that we are trying to make a change or start a new business, a new, go for a new idea, I think we need those four things. I love those. Well, now I know you work closely with administrators and educators. How would you or how do you tailor those training materials to address their unique needs and challenges of the different groups that they work with?
Yeah, I think it's really important, Carla, to do a needs assessment. So this could be a pre-workshop survey, pre-training survey. I think this could look like, a series of meetings with a point of contact or points of contacts. I think asking questions or what data is already available that you would like me to look at is so important. And the big one is, right, like what problem are we trying to solve so I can best serve, because I have a service mindset and support. And really knowing the roles, responsibilities, right? So we can make trainings and learning experiences as relevant as possible. So when you have all of this information, you can really take a look at it, plan thoughtfully, and develop experiences that are customized and personalized to the groups that you're working with, whether that's educators, administrators, or another group over here. And that way you can make, scenarios that are relevant to their work. You can pick a format that is appropriate to them, whether they're remote, in person, hybrid. You can intentionally select technologies that are going to be practical and have an impact. And that way we're using data and feedback in the development process, and we're not just guessing and hope that it works.
Yeah, and you said, we really need to identify the problems that we're trying to resolve, right, or um, to target in these groups. So, what key communication strategies have you found like are essential for ensuring that they understand, that the problem is resolved, that they are engaged, and there's clarity whether it's in remote or in person?
Yeah. In any situation, I really believe like we should be over communicating
Yeah.
and throughout the process, right? So there should be ongoing communication that's effective, clear, and concise before, during, and after. So if we want to get a little bit more specific about, what that communication would look like, you said something along the lines I was hearing about objectives and expectations. I think is so important, and communicating those up front. Like, right, if we're in remote, we want people's webcams to be on. We want to see your faces. Like, I want to engage with you. Like, let's have discussions and truly collaborate and problem solve together. That just being one of many examples, but to actively participate, right, and be present. Like, don't be looking through your notebook or on your computer or reading your Gmail. And I really think it's important to engage participants early and often.
Yeah.
We don't want to just talk at people, right? We want to involve people. We are facilitators of the learning. And I really believe, and if you've seen some of my posts, like interactive content and gamification. And then I know we were talking before this went live, but visual aids are so important in communication, whether that be GIFs, videos, visuals, right? And we want to use clear and concise language, provide opportunities to collaborate back and forth, use appropriate technology to do that. And then, let's get some feedback. Let's listen to what people are wanting, what has been working for them, and then, use that information to make things even better.
And since we're talking about engagement and interactivity, I know sometimes when we think about like remote training or education, we think, oh, when it's remote, it's like more boring, there's less interaction. Sometimes technology replaces that human connection, right? Are there any other common misconceptions about remote training that you would like to maybe debunk?
I really think you hit on the big ones. I was thinking about this a lot, and I've heard so much that, remote training is less interactive, and, that just isn't true. There are so many engagement tools like whiteboards, breakout rooms, collaborative documents, polls, live chats that you can really create engaging and meaningful experiences for participants. And what's really nice about that too is, it's a great option because you can connect across, countries or across states to collaborate with people. You don't have the cost that sometimes involved with travel, and you can be really flexible and adaptable with how you set things up. So, and then with technology, yeah, I would say that another one would be too is, we can't make as good of or build strong relationships in a remote environment that, if you're not seeing people in person, that it's harder to have that connection, to build those relationships. And I would also say, since I've worked in digital learning environments for many years, that is not true. Now, I agree, right? We want to create an environment where people can effectively build relationships, but you can do team building activities. There are so many ways you can structure your meetings or learning experiences so people can interact and learn about each other. And I have some amazing relationships with people who I've never met in person, or I haven't met that often because it's hard to see them, right? So I think as long as you're intentional and thoughtful with how you design those things, that you can build amazing relationships with, people that you normally wouldn't even meet, right? Like in different countries or, in California. So we're really lucky that we have that as an option.
Yeah, definitely. And when talking about interactivity, Genially, we work basically to make things interactive, and now we have live sessions to help classroom have contests and kind of feel more in person, even though it can be well, you can do it in person as well, but even though it's remote, you can still create activities to make things more interactive. And we do think that it helps the audience kind of retain more information by making it more interactive. So yeah, I agree with what you said, and as well as the human part the connection. So I want to ask, what would you say personally is the single most important best practice that instructors should adopt, and what is an outdated practice that they should leave behind?
Sure. So I thought a lot about this. So what I would say is, for me, what's really important now, I think more than ever, is continuous learning and having a growth mindset, right? So things in education are evolving. Technology, I think there's a new AI feature or tool coming out every day. Even if you're trying to keep up with it, it's hard to keep up on. So I would just say it's so important to continuously learn and grow. And that could, be done in a variety of different ways. I read. I, really love being on social media and having a professional learning network because you have so many different perspectives that you can learn from. People are always sharing different ideas, tools, new ways that you can network and build relationships, right? So I think it's really important to, take a class, do a certification, and do things that are relevant to you and what you're passionate about that relate to your work. But I can't say enough about, being open to feedback, learning and growing, because things are changing so much and you don't want to be left behind and having to play catch up. So that is huge for me. Like, I really value, just lifelong learning. So what I do think needs to change, especially if we're talking about education in general, especially if we're looking at students, is we really need to move away from this model of memorization, worksheets, and a system of compliance to building learning experiences in the classroom that, spark curiosity, experimentation, creativity, problem solving. And that's one of the reasons I'm a member of the human intelligence movement, because they believe that all students need the skills to thrive in an AI world, right? Because AI can give us all of this knowledge and information in minutes. So we really want to, support skill development in students so they can be successful, in this new world we're all living in the age of AI. So I really think, developing meaningful learning experiences, for students and adults is so important, where we problem solve together, we collaborate, we experiment, and, we find solutions.
That's great. Yeah. And since, you were talking about how technology also is changing and you have to keep growing and trying to keep up with all this new technologies coming up, right? How do you think the role of the modern instructor has been changing because of these shifts? And also, how do you personally have adapted to this approach of creating and delivering training materials?
Yeah, I think it's really, I think it's important, regardless of what's going on, to always, prioritize engagement. And now more than ever, adaptability is huge, right? I mean, we just need to learn to adapt, that, there's going to be change, and sometimes change is really uncomfortable, right? Because all of these things are happening and things are moving at such a rapid pace. And I really think it's important to adapt, to learn, to change, and, to do your homework too. I mean, you want to create and select tools and create a learning environment that's effective. And part of doing that is keeping up with all of the new things. Now, we don't want to be on a trend, right? And where we have to, pick every new thing that's out there, right? We want to pick things that are effective. We want to be intentional about our audience and their needs. What works for one person over here, isn't going to work for another person over here. So, I think adaptability and personalization are huge, no matter what. And then, for you individually to just value flexibility and adaptability, in an environment that, will change again in a couple of days. New things will be out, and there's just new things to keep up on, and, staying up on those and not getting caught up in the hype of every new thing, but being selective for the people that you're working with and working for.
Do you have any maybe recommendations of habits that people can adopt to try to maintain with these new tools, with these new methodologies that you maybe personally use? I don't know if you have always been this adaptable and curious about the world, but do you have any maybe recommendations for those who might have been using the same methods for a long time and now are trying to maybe start to try new things?
Yeah, I would say, it's important to be a good listener. Active listening is huge. And I say that to mean, just engage with people, in the community. Listen to learners, to educators, industry professionals. And you want to do that, right? So you can create, the best, most relevant training materials and experiences for people. But listening to people is important, right? It's not so much the tool that we need to be putting emphasis on. It's, what the tool is, the bridge, right, to support people. So I would tell people, listen, learn, right? Stay curious.
Yeah.
Follow thought leaders, or, had people. There are some amazing, I've had great mentors, thankfully, in my life. So, join professional communities. I'm part of some different groups, And that has been amazing. One, because I've met so many new people. They support great causes. I get to listen to all of their points of view and the causes that we all support, and we're working collectively to achieve together. So I would say, get involved, stay curious, always be wondering and thinking and listening. And then, I would just say experiment, right? I think there's a lot of stress. Like, I have to learn this new thing, and what if I try it and it's a disaster and it doesn't work out the first time? I think we've all done that. I've done that. Just try again, experiment, and give yourself some grace when you're learning. Like, when we are trying things for the first time, it's not going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. So just keep working through it. And, if you hit some frustration, just take a break and come back and, give yourself a nice pep talk. I do that. Like, if I'm trying to figure something out, even if it's something simple. So, and then I would just say, be flexible and open to change, and to new ideas. And then, I'd always say we want to focus on purpose. So, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of tools out there, but don't lose sight of the goal and achieving the goal and what's going to help you, achieve that. So, I think those would be some of my big things. And then, I think it's important to bring up you here, because you can't support other people well if you're not taking care of yourself. So make time for you, give yourself grace, walk outside. It's been cold here, but, get outside when you can, or work out, take a lunch break, and do things so you can be most productive and effective, to do your work well.
Definitely, it's really important to be well in order to do your job well, right? So,
yeah,
and I love what you said about purpose. I think a lot of people just try to jump into a new trend because others are doing it, but they don't have, a meaningful purpose of why they're doing. And I think if they find that purpose, their work will show that, right? It will be a lot more meaningful. And also, since you mentioned that you had some mentors and people who have taught you and shape you, in honor of Women's History Month, because it's March, can you maybe highlight maybe a female educator or mentor who maybe has influenced your work, and maybe, I don't know, maybe give me, or how has their perspective changed the way that you work?
Okay, Carla, can I break the rules? Because I have a couple.
Sure.
I have been so grateful and fortunate to have some just amazing people in my life, that have taught me so much, that have shaped who I am today. And first and foremost, shout out to my mom. She is the most wonderful person. She pushes me. She always makes me go outside of my comfort zone and supports me no matter what. So I would say, she has always been just a big inspiration in my life. So professionally, there are 3 people, especially when I moved into leadership, right? Because it's such a big transition. You have so many people, staff members, students relying on you to do the right things for them. So one of them, her name is Malika Stubbs. She is on LinkedIn. She's an amazing coach, but our team had a leadership coach, and it was her. I worked with her for 3 amazing years. And I would say, listen, coaching was the single best source of professional development for me in my career. And everybody's a little different, but it was amazing working with her. She was your cheerleader, your accountability partner. And it's just nice to, have fun, bounce ideas off each other. And she was amazing. So I would absolutely say her. I would say my former principal, Katea Clark. She just has all of the great values you want in a leader, right? Integrity, honesty. She just reminds me of the book Dare to Lead, and she taught me just so much about what it means to be a great leader. And then there is Alicia Hughes. She was my former executive director, now business owner. She's known me for 10 years. So she hired me when I was a teacher out there. And she just, even now, we're both business owners. She's just been very supportive, helpful, encouraging, and has given me a lot of great advice. So in honor of, this month, I would say that, I'm very grateful for all of the people that I can't even mention in this video because, I've been fortunate enough to have, great leaders and managers that have really pushed me and taught me a lot.
That's awesome. And I think it's so important to have a support group and maybe people who lift you up when maybe you're feeling down, that can help you see things in a different way. And, also as women, I think it's important to stick together and learn from each other. So I love that. So I want to hear maybe a real world success story from yours. Maybe could you share any way that you have integrated innovative tools in a way that has significantly transformed a training program?
Sure. I thought about this a lot because, when I was at my former organization, we implemented so many digital learning tools. And, digital learning tools are important, right? Because in a digital environment, right, we can't see students without a digital tool, an LMS system. Everything we do digitally, the tool is the bridge and makes it possible to do all the things that we do. But at the same time, the question was really hard for me to answer because I think, the real impact isn't from the tool, right? It's about the people using the tool. So I really have found that success in training isn't measured by how many platforms we introduce. It's really about, how we're using the tool to build connections with people, to support learning and development, to help people problem solve together. So I think what I'm trying to say is that at the core, innovation and learning is about empowering people, helping them feel confident in the work that they do, giving them the support that they need, and creating opportunities for discussion. So, you can achieve organizational goals. So I really think, the tool is important, but it's the people who ultimately are using the tools that make it happen. So I always like to say that, we want to focus on the people first and the tool second. And that's, I think, when you really have training that resonates with people and that we're thoughtful in selecting the tools that solve the right problem, that bring people together and, achieve the goal. A lot of times, I've seen things introduced or tried to implement and, we aren't solving the right problem and we aren't fixing the right things. So I think now more than ever too with AI, right? Like we're the humans in the room and, we're the decision makers of, what is best. And really need to use that now more than ever with a critical lens to make sure that what we're doing has the right impact on people.
Okay, yeah. And related to that, and to wrap things up, we're talking about how there's a lot of digital tools and how now a lot of tasks can be automated, right? What advice do you have for instructors and anyone who want to stay creative and continue to innovate on their work without relying on this, digital tools?
Yeah, and that's tough, right? Because, we want to automate because we want, right, to take some of those tasky administrative tasks that, take up a lot of our time to do more strategic planning, strategic work, people work, collaborative work. So automation is important. So I guess my thought on this would be, in order to stay creative and innovative, we need to make sure that, one, we're automating the right things, that we are staying connected to people, and we're making thoughtful decisions collaboratively as a team, and we aren't letting AI or technology make the decisions for us. Like, it's our assistant, right? It's our teammate, but we are the ultimate decision maker. So we ultimately decide the products we're putting out, how we're serving people, the environments we're creating for people. So I would always just, caution to, be yourself, be you. Don't let ChatGPT think for you or make decisions for you. That, it's a great place to start with brainstorming and make a lot of things easier, but we want to make sure we're doing the right things.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your insights and experiences today. I think your journey and your approach to your work is truly inspiring. I'm sure that listeners can take a lot of plenty of actionable tips today. I will make sure to also have your LinkedIn and your website in the description so that they can find you. Thank you for joining us today.
Carla, thanks again for having me. It's been great talking with you.
Yeah, I loved having you. And for Women's History Month, I love that we have such a good leader as yourself. So I also want to thank the audience for tuning in into this Coffee with Genially episode. And be sure to subscribe to join us next time for another episode of Coffee with Genially. And until then, keep innovating and stay connected. Bye bye.